Zambia. So the intent of my speech is to present a position that internal auditing, when given the right mandate to perform, serves as a valuable resource in fighting corruption in Zambia. So in a statement taken out of the Chinese Journal of Accounts and Research, corruption is defined as a cancer. It's a chronic cancer that harms the transparency and accountability of governments. And it's inevitably the target for audit institutions to dig out, fight against, and also prevent from happening repeatedly. So most governments around the world, most governments, administrations, really concur with this statement. Even the Biden administration, they concur that corruption is actually a chronic cancer. In Zambia, the Anti-Corruption Act number 3 of 2012 defines corruption as soliciting, accepting, obtaining, giving, promising, or offering for gratification by way of a bribe or other personal temptation of inducement. So at this point, I think we can all attest to the fact that one thing is standing out between these two definitions, right? So corruption, the main thing that is standing out is that corruption hinders economic growth as well as economic development. It also disrupts the rule of law. And unfortunately, this problem is not only a local problem or a national problem, it is an international problem. For instance, in Ireland in 2016, they recorded 1 in 4 people having paid bribes to a public official to access public services. So you might be wondering, what does it have to do with us? Ireland seems like a really far place, right? But then if you're bringing it to the Zambian context, during the years 2016, 2017, and 2018, just those 3 years alone, the Financial Intelligence Center of Zambia recorded a total amount of $800 million emanating from corruption actions. Just recently in 2022, the same organization recorded a 13% increase in corruption, and that was totaling around 3.5 billion per year, and this was all emanating from corruption actions. And these are very huge amounts, especially for a country which is developing like Zambia. So this brings us to say, what is it in internal auditing? What can we use in internal auditing that can help us to fight this corruption in Zambia? So whether real or not, the battle of corruption in Zambia is very much real. And internal auditors offer us a better opportunity to fight.
Bluetooth mode.
Okay, we can continue now. So the Institute of Internal Auditing defines internal auditing as an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve organizations' operations. So it helps organizations accomplish objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluating and improving the effectiveness of risk management. So the following, I'll give you the ways in which internal auditing can help fight corruption. And the first thing is risk assessment. The second thing is compliance monitoring. The third is fraud detection. And the last but not the least is reporting. On risk assessment, internal auditing helps organizations to identify areas of high risk for corruption and fraud. And it helps develop strategies to mitigate these risks. For example, sometime last year, the World Bank issued $275 million to the Zambian government for development. But those are very huge amounts of money, and often Zambia gets a lot of foreign aid. But with the reality, with a lot of money comes the reality for corruption and corporate offices. So how does internal auditing help us in such a situation? The first thing is it will help us identify this area, of foreign aid as a point. As a part where corruption is, as a vulnerable part of corruption. So auditing can perform risk assessments to identify areas of the organization that are vulnerable to corruption. This can include, reviewing financial statements as well as procedures and vendor relationships. Another way internal auditing can help fight against corruption is through compliance monitoring. If you are in this audience, I'm sure you can remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, governments all over the world, including Zambia, they were giving out billions to their citizens in relief. And this was a time where they were not only trying to safeguard, funds, they're also trying to safeguard human life as well. So how did internal auditing help us in such a situation? So internal auditing in the state, their skills were put in place. Their skills were employed, and this it was critical that internal controls to ensure that the funds were reaching the intended recipients were put in place. And also on fraud detection, internal auditors can detect fraudulent activities within an organization. So Zambia has lost a lot from corruption. And unfortunately, we do not have the luxury to actually detect corruption after the fact. We need to be on the ground and pick them up in real time, and that's the type of skill you can only find in internal auditing. So this skill can include identifying irregularities, fraudulent transactions, reviewing vendor relationships, and analyzing employee behavior. The last but not the least way in which internal auditing can fight against corruption is through reporting. So one of the major ways they can do this is by providing independent and objective assessment of financial transactions. Internal auditors can report these corrupt transactions to the management, to the board of directors, or the external regulators. And it can also share their findings related to corruption with the Anti-Corruption Commission, which was mandated by the Anti-Corrupt Committee to fight against corruption. So the fight against corruption requires a sustained effort from all stakeholders, and internal auditors can leverage technology which will allow them to monitor these transactions in real time. In conclusion, internal auditing plays a crucial role in the fight against corruption by identifying areas of vulnerability, compliance monitoring, detecting fraud, and reporting corrupt activities. Internal auditors can create an environment in which corruption is less likely to thrive. So it is essential that we continue to support and strengthen the internal audit profession if you hope to stand a chance in this fight. Thank you very much.